Hey, everybody. Really excited for this conversation today as we talk about how messy IT is in practice. More devices, more apps, more shadow IT, and a lot less visibility than teams would like. And NinjaOne is in the spotlight on why IT asset management is back in the spotlight for them and how they're trying to simplify the chaos. Peter, how are you?
Hey, Evan, thanks so much for having us. Yeah, I'm super excited to talk about IT asset management today and our recent announcement that we've added IT asset management capabilities to the NinjaOne platform.
I saw that. Really intriguing. Before that, how do you describe NinjaOne these days to someone who may not be familiar, and what's your role in the company?
Yeah, that's a really good timing, actually, to ask that question. We recently repositioned as the unified IT operations platform. NinjaOne unifies IT to simplify work. And that's a really, critical pivot from our old, very endpoint-centric messaging, where, our platform, which is very focused on how we help IT teams manage endpoints, has expanded over the last few years to really touch all IT workflows and expand from just a purely sort of hardware, software management capability set to touching on all of the workflows and data sets and needs of an IT operations team. So, if you think about the NinjaOne platform now, it's really about unifying IT and all of the operational workflows that you need to simplify work. At Ninja, I run product strategy and the product marketing team, and was really deeply involved in our decision to go after the IT asset management space and add that to our product platform, as well as being involved in launching that to the market.
Fantastic. Congratulations on that. And there's so much happening in this space. Why is there room for NinjaOne right now? What's happening and what's changed that's made this the right time, the right moment to launch?
Yeah, that's a really easy answer for me because the only answer that matters is our customers ask for it. That's really how we prioritize and identify opportunities to add to our platform. It's when your customers ask for it and expect it, that's what we go and build. But there is a broader strategic answer here, and that's that 35,000 customers today are already using NinjaOne as their system of record for data on managed devices. So devices that we manage with our agent or profile-based MDM management. They're already using Ninja as that system of record for those devices. And what we hear over and over again is that our customers want full visibility and control of all assets, managed and unmanaged, so they can report on those devices, manage costs, and plan effectively. The problem that they're trying to solve is pretty simple. Ultimately, they don't have one source of truth for all IT asset data. Data scattered across endpoint tools, service desks, documentation, procurement systems, spreadsheets, ultimately leaving you with really no way to report on and talk about all the assets you have in your environment. They may not even have access to the asset data being tracked by other teams. So a really good example of this, during the beta program, I was talking to an early adopter of our IT asset management product, and they told me their procurement team owns the ITAM database, and they didn't even have access. And so we hear stories all the time about the lack of visibility. It's not that the data doesn't exist. It's that IT ops, which is a team that really needs to own this data, doesn't have full visibility or access or all of it consolidated in one place. Another thing I'd add here is that our ability to discover devices via channels like Active Directory or Intune or network discovery drives a lot of value there. Managed devices are really important, but our ability to go and leverage our agent and our control of the network and devices to find other assets is really critical and kind of a differentiator here. One example of this that I'd love to point out from early in my career, I worked at a small tech company, maybe 50 people, and our ITAM system was in fact just a spreadsheet, and it was the level one tech walking around to everyone's computer, sitting down, logging the hardware details, looking at what software you had. It took them about a week just to do, the 50 users in the office, and that's something we really want to solve. We want to give truly unified visibility to all IT assets for IT leaders, wherever they are.
Amazing. So how do you actually deliver that visibility across, managed, unmanaged, even offline assets? What's happening in the platform to enable that?
Yeah, so on the managed device side, and we cover pretty much every operating system and form factor. So Windows, Mac, and Linux, your Android, iOS, Mac OS, mobile devices. We cover networking devices, virtual machines, anything with an SNMP that's SNMP enabled. We can find and we can at least monitor, if not manage. So that's a huge set of the devices in your environment that you care about. We've always been able to see and manage those. What we've added for those managed devices is the ability to do lifecycle management. So who is this device assigned to? What is its status? How is this, when is the warranty up on this device so that you can manage them more effectively? So lifecycle management there. And then software license management. So if it is a end user compute device or a server, we can detect the software that's on there. We've always been able to do that with our software inventory. But adding on top of that, the actual active ability to match the software inventory to software licenses is a big upgrade there. So you can kind of manage those costs. On the unmanaged device side, this is a pretty big new addition as part of ITAM. Anything that you can discover, whether it be through our network discovery capability, whether it be through our Intune integration, whether it be through API or CSV upload, you can bring devices that you can't manage and monitor into the system as a record. And it'll look just like every other device in Ninja. You'll have that record. You'll be able to search for it. You'll be able to attach people to it, and you'll be able to build relationships between them, all in such a way that you can have that full visibility. So the way we're really delivering on it is that lifecycle and software lifecycle management on the managed side, and then the ability to have unmanaged devices for the first time in NinjaOne.
Amazing. So of all the challenges regarding visibility, what is the biggest blind spot you're seeing across different customers right now?
Yeah, the real promise of IT asset management, particularly the way NinjaOne is doing it, is to turn sort of asset chaos into actionable intelligence. We want teams to be able to drive cost savings, be more efficient, reduce security blind spots, and stay audit ready, right? This kind of goes to the core of the idea of unified IT operations. It's the more you can unify your data set and your data plane across IT ops, the better your outcomes are across, cost management, across efficiency, across compliance and security. All of those things are better the more unified you are. And IT asset management just adds another layer of that to the promise that we're already delivering with the NinjaOne platform. So really the core outcomes here are reducing costs and extending asset lifecycle, right? This is, when you talk about IT asset management, this is always the number one outcome you're looking for. You want one trusted inventory for hardware and software to help with refresh cycles, avoid redundant purchases, and extend the lifecycle of assets so that you can make better procurement and management decisions. A really good example of this is, if you see all of devices from OEM X have twice as many tickets as from OEM Y, or device type A and device type B, you can stop purchasing those because they're more expensive to manage. The total cost of ownership is much higher. By having that unified view across ticketing and endpoint management and patching and security and IT asset management, you can consolidate all that data in one place and make better procurement decisions. The second is better security, right? And better compliance. You can't manage and you can't secure what you can't see. Putting it all in one place means that you can expose these unmanaged or shadow or legacy devices that create security blind spots. And when you have that real-time, always accurate record of devices and licenses, you ultimately make things like compliance and audits much faster and less painful. I think the next really here is gaining operational intelligence. By having relationships between devices, you can do root cause analysis better, right? If there is a network problem, you can know the relationships between them, between networking devices, for example, or if there's a printer problem, but you're not managing the printer, but it's connected to this network, you can do that root cause analysis better. And then finally here, and I think this is the most important, going back to that story I had about the IT guy walking around the office, you're going to just spend less time on IT asset management. IT asset management is one of those things that if you're not doing it in an automated and modern fashion, you're spending a lot of time on and not getting a lot of value out of it. And so just reducing that, cutting that weight down is a really important outcome.
Amazing. Really amazing. So you mentioned automation there. It keeps coming up again and again in this space. Where do you see automation and new integrations really showing up in a meaningful way? How do you think differently about working across different tech stacks when it comes to automating?
Yeah, so if I look back at sort of the legacy view of ITAM, it is spreadsheets, right? It's static views of assets that get updated once, maybe twice a year. There's still probably millions of companies managing their IT assets that way. Worst case scenario is you're just not, right? You have no visibility and those assets are just out in the wild. But a lot of people are doing this like manual static view of IT asset management. The only way to get away from that is automation. And we really see this coming into play as a core part of our platform, right? Again, we can continuously identify and pull in unmanaged assets via all the ways we do discovery, Active Directory, our Intune integration, network discovery. We're adding more every day, integrations with other tools, et cetera, all focused on our ability to pull in assets and either manage them, which is the best outcome, or bring them into it as an unmanaged device so you at least have visibility. The more you automate that, the more the data is going to be up to date and therefore reliable and usable. The more coverage you're going to have, the less likely you're going to have shadow assets, et cetera. The second is this data for the IT ops team is probably going to be used primarily in NinjaOne, but for other teams, it may be in other systems. We can push this data to a CMDB, for example, which is really important. If you're aligned on to ITIL frameworks, you probably have a CMDB and you want to push the data into there, right? So we can push the data back out into other systems. So we have integrations with the likes of ServiceNow and others where we can push this data back out to other systems. If you have an ERP, for example, we could push this data via our API out to those systems so that other teams that need this data can have it. We don't want to lock this data into Ninja. We want to democratize it and push it out to all the teams that need it. And the next is, when you have the ability on the managed device side to do things like automate the tracking of software, you don't have to go and dig in and have conversations with end users about the software they're using or not using. You can just pull those reports and then dig in on the cost saving side. So from a lifecycle management perspective, from a software lifecycle management perspective, the native workflow engine in Ninja ties into these things and makes the management and utilization of that data much more efficient and effective.
Wow, that's been fantastic. So it sounds really powerful for a mid-market IT director trying to justify his or her budget. How do you prove the ROI with a product like this that does so much and has so many facets to it?
Yeah, it's really a four-step process. We want to lead with outcomes for leadership, but we have to get to those outcomes, right? So when we're talking to CIOs, when we're talking to CFOs, we want to talk about things like cost control, risk reduction, and audit readiness. If you're talking to a C-suite leader, those are the things they're going to care about. ITAM can give you a lot of those hard numbers: what you own, what's used, what's covered, what's due for a refresh, and unlike a lot of things in IT ops that are harder to tie directly to that end number, ITAM is really positioned to give you that end number, right? Because if I can show I've reduced the number of really expensive software license A by 20%, that's direct cost savings. That's a number that I can walk into a CFO. If I can show that I've extended the useful life of my IT assets, my end user compute devices, for example, by a year on average, that's a financial savings that I can walk into a CFO. If I can show that we've reduced shadow IT, from licenses that aren't managed by IT by 10%, that's a security benefit I can walk into the CISO. ITAM really does lend itself to KPIs that align with business outcomes and that business leaders care about. And that's why it's such an important tool for IT leaders to have in their toolbox.
Fantastic. It looks like this is something more than ITAM, a kind of a real-time operational platform. Is there a new category that might be needed because you're doing so much here?
Yeah, I mean, I think the future viewpoint here really is that unified IT operations platform and the sort of IT operations control plane, right? It's less about ITAM as a discrete capability or a discrete product and more about combining multiple tools and rationalizing the IT operations tool stack into a unified platform that delivers on cost reduction, risk reduction, and efficiency benefits.
Fantastic. So you have so much opportunity and work ahead of you. I know you're tripling down on R&D and investment in the platform. What's next? What can we expect over the next weeks, months, from your perspective?
Yeah, a really interesting stat that I was just talking about with my product management team was, we triaged something like 24,000 feature requests last year alone.
Wow.
That means our customers are really engaged in telling us what they want us to build. One of the things we want to make sure happens is we continue to invest in all of our products and capabilities while we build new products and capabilities, right? So with ITAM, you can expect, an increasing and hopefully accelerating set of new capabilities that we build on top of this as we tie into things that aren't just endpoints. For example, ITAM is not an endpoint or device only capability set. You want the ability to track all of your assets and all of the areas that drive cost and you need visibility on for compliance and reporting purposes. So we can expect to see an expansion of ITAM capabilities, maybe beyond the endpoint and across all of IT operations. We can expect to see greater tie-ins to all of the tools and platforms on the NinjaOne platform. And I think beyond ITAM, you can expect to see, 5 or 6 new products coming from NinjaOne this year alone, with more coming in the future.
Wow. Well, hold that thought. Lots more to discuss. And it'll be great seeing your team at RSA in San Francisco in a few weeks. And thanks for sharing kind of a peek behind the curtain.
Thanks so much, Evan. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for listening, watching, sharing. Also check out our TV show, techimpact.tv at Bloomberg and Fox Business. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, everyone.